couple came to me this spring. Both teachers, combined household income about $190,000. They bought a semi in the Junction back in 2019 for $815,000. Put 20% down. 2 kids now, and in place, it's getting a little bit tight. So they want a detached home and stay in the West End. But they already talked themselves out of it before even they called me. They told me the gap between their semi and a detached was about $1,500 a month. And on 2 teaching salaries, they couldn't absorb it. But I asked them one question. Have you calculated how much equity you have built in the last 7 years? They haven't. So I pulled their mortgage statement, ran the numbers on a detached house in the West End. On a 1.25 mil house, let's say in Oakwood Village, the monthly gap was about $320, not $1,500. And at 1.1 mil, that price point is in Corso Italia. The detached house costs about $591 less per month than the semi they're living in right now. I know that sounds wrong, a bigger house costing less per month, but 7 years of mortgage payments and appreciation in the Junction built over $700,000 in equity. That equity rewrites the entire monthly carrying calculation. I'm going to show you every dollar using real sale data from the West End. I'm also going to show you what happens when the couple tries to stay in the Junction, because that number is the one nobody wants to hear. Most semi-owners in Toronto assume the jump to a detached house is out of reach. The listing prices are higher, property taxes are higher, the heating bill is higher. That part's true, but what most people forget to factor in 7 years of equity growth inside a home they already own. That equity changes the monthly carrying calculations completely. This couple bought their semi in 2019 for $815,000. They put down 20%, which was about $163,000. That gave them a mortgage of about $652,000 at 3% fixed, 25-year amortization. 7 years later, 2 things happen. First is principal pay down. Every month for 7 years, a portion of the mortgage payment went straight towards the loan balance. After 84 months of regular payments, the mortgage balance dropped from $652,000 to about $515,000. That is $137,000 paid down just by living there. The second is appreciation. I pulled 20 semi-detached sales in the Junction for the past year from Realm. The median sale price is 1.23 mil. Homes range from low 900,000 for small properties on busier streets to over 1.7 mil for renovated 4-bedroom semis on premium lots. This couple has a 3-bedroom and it's on a good street. 1.23 mil is a conservative number for the position. So here's their equity position. Home value, 1.23 mil, mortgage balance, $515,000, and that leaves about $715,000 equity. They have more than quadrupled their original $163,000 investment without renovating, without flipping, without doing anything except living there and making payments. Now, you cannot spend equity until you sell, and selling costs money. In Toronto, real estate commissions and legal fees run roughly about 5%. On a $1.23 million sale, that is about $61,500. So the net proceeds after selling are $653,000. $653,000 cash. That's a number that changes everything about the movement math. Before I show you what that $653,000 buys, let me tell you what is actually selling in the West End. I pulled every detached sale in the last 6 months across 3 communities: Corso Italia, Oakwood Village, and Dovercourt-Wallace Emerson-Junction. That is 96 sales. The median sale price across all 3 communities, 1.35 mil, but the range depends heavily on the neighborhood. Corso Italia has the most accessible entry points. The median there is 1.19 mil, and 13 out of the 25 detached sales were under 1.2 mil. Oakwood Village has a median of 1.35 mil, with 12 sales under 1.2. Dovercourt-Wallace Emerson-Junction sit higher at a median of 1.49 mil. That is real data from real closings, not listing prices or Zestimates. The first scenario is a detached home at 1.1 mil in Corso Italia. This is the real price point in this neighborhood. A 3-bedroom on Harvey sold for 1.16 mil, and that was earlier this year. Another 3-bedroom on Ascot sold for 1 mil. In Oakwood Village, a 3-bedroom on Clovelly sold for 1.1. These are family homes on established lease, not teardowns or fixer-uppers. Buy a home costs more than just the purchase price. In Toronto, land transfer tax on a $1.1 million home runs about $36,000. Add legal fees and moving costs, you're about $6,500, and you're looking at $42,000 in closing costs. That money comes out of the $653,000 proceeds, leaving about $610,000 for the down payment. That is 56% down. The new mortgage, $489,000. At 4.09 fixed over 25 years, the mortgage payments is about $2,600 a month. Property tax on detached home in this range goes from $440 a month or higher. Heating and a detached house costs about $180. Insurance, $155, $2,600 plus $440 plus $180 plus $155. Total monthly carrying costs, $3,372. Now, here's what they are paying on their semi right now. The mortgage just renewed at today's rate about 4.09% on a $515,000 balance with 18 years remaining. That gives them a property payment about $3,300 a month. Adding property tax at $320, heating at $150, insurance at $130. Current semi carrying is about just shy of $4,000. The detached house costs $591 less per month than the semi they already lived in. That number trips people up. You assume a bigger house always means a bigger payment, but there are two things working in their favor here. First, that $56,000 down payment keeps the new mortgage at $489,000. That is actually less than that $550,000 they currently own on the semi. They are borrowing less money on the detached than they own on the house they already own. Second, the semi has 18 years left on amortization, which means higher payments per dollar loan because the payoff window is compressed. The detached gets a fresh 25-year schedule on a smaller loan. If you own a semi or a house in Toronto and you're thinking about what comes next, subscribe. I run the real numbers on real scenarios every week. Now back to the math. On a $1.1 million detached with a fresh 25-year mortgage, only $940 a month goes to principal. On a $1.25 mil detached, principal is $1,200 a month. On the 1.8 mil junction detached, that's about $2,400 a month. But remember, the bank will not approve that mortgage at $109,000 income. So even though the $1.1 million detached costs about $600 less per month, they're building equity almost $700 a month slower. Over a year, that's about $8,100 less towards a mortgage balance. On a $1.25 million detached, the slowdown is about just shy of $400 a month or about $4,500 a year. If you are 5 years on paying off your semi, the trade-off might not make sense. If you have 15 to 18 years left, like this couple, it's a different calculation because you're extending clocks by only 7 years. The reason this math works right now comes down to three things happening at the same time. First, detached prices in GTA dropped $166,000 from their 2020-22 peak. The average detached sold for $1.54 mil in 2022. In 2025, that number is $1.38 mil. Second, semi values follow a similar percentage drop, about 11%, but held the ground in strong West End pockets. In the junction, the median semi sold for $1.23 mil based on 20 recent sales. That strength in semi values is exactly what creates the equity that makes the move up work. Third, December 2024 changed the financing rules. The insured mortgage cap went from 1 mil to 1.5 mil. Which opened up the door for first-time buyers to access detached homes with minimum down. More competition at the entry level supports prices in the affordable detached range, which means semi owners with equity are buying in a market that has room to recover. For semi owners who bought before 2021, all three of those forces work in your favor. Detached prices come down, your semi equity grew, and the financing rules got more flexible. That combination equates a window. When detached prices recover and the gap widens to $360,000 or more, the monthly carrying math stops being this favorable. Every semi owner's equity position is different. Your purchase price, your mortgage rate, your remaining balance, and your neighbor all change the output. But if you bought semi in Toronto between 2017 and 2021, there's a good chance the numbers look similar to what I just showed you. Run your actual equity against a specific detached listing in the neighborhood you want. And if your neighborhood you want is the one you're already in, be honest about that because the premium costs before you start looking.